The universe begins with silence, a silence so deep it feels ancient, stretching across billions of light years. In that stillness, the James Webb Space Telescope drifts like a lone sentinel, staring into a darkness older than Earth itself. Its mirrors gather light that has traveled since the dawn of time, light so faint and fragile that a whisper of interference would erase it forever. Yet what Webb captured wasn't faint, it wasn't fragile, it was impossible. 13 billion light-years away, something unfamiliar glowed at the edge of existence. Not a star, not a galaxy. Something that looked back through the abyss with a structure that made no sense. A shape born in an era when the universe should have been too young, too chaotic, too unformed for anything so massive to exist. Webb focused deeper. The image sharpened, and the rules of physics began to fall apart. The first shock came from a simple measurement. Space itself was stretching wrong. For decades, the universe's expansion had been treated as a settled fact, a reliable, steady mystery. But Webb revealed an impossible contradiction. One slice of the cosmos expanded at one speed. Another slice expanded at a different speed, as if space were a fractured balloon, stretching unevenly, disobeying every law ever written. Webb caught the glow of ancient Cepheid stars, standard candles used to measure cosmic distances. Their rhythms produced one expansion rate. But when scientists compared these readings to the cosmic microwave background, the universe's oldest light, the numbers diverged violently. Two contradictory answers, two realities, one universe. In the vacuum of deep space, there are no alarms, no voices, no warnings. But if the cosmos could scream, this would have been the moment. A quiet break in the mathematical skeleton beneath everything we know. Webb did not stop. Its infrared gaze swept across the abyss, revealing structures buried in the first few 100 million years after the Big Bang. What it found next was even stranger. In regions where astronomers expected to see small, fragile baby galaxies, Webb found giants, fully grown systems that rivaled the Milky Way. Born in the first moments of cosmic time, galaxies that should have taken billions of years to assemble had somehow formed in a cosmic blink. The early universe, once thought to be gentle and slow, now appeared violent, fast, and unpredictable. Each galaxy glowed with the mass of tens of billions of stars. Their ancient starlight drifted into Webb's mirrors like a whisper from another reality. Yet their size defied every model. They were too massive, too developed, too organized. Almost as if the universe had skipped steps in its own evolution. Almost as if something had accelerated creation itself. Webb pushed deeper. It found black holes that shouldn't exist. Monsters with the mass of 50 million suns drifting naked through space, without galaxies around them, born too early, grown too fast. Feeding on matter at rates that physics says should be impossible. These objects burned so brightly that their glow pierced the cosmic darkness like beacons from another age. They were ancient, yet fully formed, young, yet already monstrous. A contradiction wrapped in gravity so intense that even light struggled to escape. Webb kept looking. The universe kept breaking. Thousands of faint, crimson points of light appeared scattered across the early cosmos. They were too bright for stars, too compact for galaxies. They pulsed with energy patterns that no model could explain. Some emitted violent bursts. Others remained steady like cosmic embers refusing to fade. Astronomers called them little red dots, but the name hid their true nature, structures that didn't fit anywhere in our understanding of cosmic evolution. Beyond them, Webb found rogue worlds drifting through space in pairs, giant planets, untethered from stars, glowing faintly from their own internal heat. Their atmospheres crackled with exotic chemistry, generating radio bursts that echoed across nebulae. These wanderers traveled in silence, orbiting each other in the cold dark like cosmic ghosts. Further still, Webb uncovered young planetary systems forming incorrectly, worlds built from materials that should not exist where they were found. Disks missing water, regions rich in carbon dioxide where Earth-like planets should form. places where chemistry itself refused to follow familiar rules. The more Webb saw, the stranger the universe became. Close to blazing stars, it discovered planets turned into oceans of molten rock, yet somehow holding on to atmospheres that should have been stripped away. Winds screamed across their surfaces at thousands of miles per hour, carrying vaporized minerals that rained down as metal storms. These worlds shouldn't exist, yet there they were, glowing like embers beside their parent stars. Webb continued its journey into the past. It caught a comet older than the Sun racing through our solar system, a frozen messenger from a star that died billions of years before Earth formed. It found galaxies colliding in shapes that resembled infinity symbols, with black holes forming in the void between them, suspended in places where gravity should not allow them to exist. It revealed massive structures spinning in coordinated patterns across millions of light years, moving as if the universe itself were rotating. Every discovery deepened the mystery. Every measurement pulled the thread tighter. The universe was not behaving like the predictable machine described in textbooks. It was behaving like something alive, chaotic, shifting, full of hidden structures and forgotten violence. Dark matter tore galaxies apart. Magnetic fields wove through the cosmic web like vast neural networks. Space-time bent so violently around massive galaxies that the same system appeared in multiple places at once, each version showing a different moment in its own history. Webb had looked too deep, and what it found was a universe far stranger, older, and more fragile than anyone imagined. The silence returned, but it no longer felt empty. It felt like a warning. A quiet reminder that the deeper we look, the more the universe reveals about itself and about our place within its vast, indifferent expanse. The deeper Webb stared, the more the early universe began to unravel. Not slowly, not gradually, all at once, like a curtain pulled open to reveal a stage built on impossible foundations. In the cold vacuum where galaxies were supposed to grow gently, Webb found chaos. An ancient cosmos rising faster than theory allowed, light bending where no mass should be, structures forming before the laws of physics had settled into place. It began with the giants. Those 6 colossal galaxies, each glowing like a furnace at the dawn of time, did not behave like cosmic infants. Their starlight flickered with the intensity of systems that had matured long before they should have existed. Their shapes were too smooth, their stars too numerous, their mass too monstrous for the universe's infancy. Webb captured them as faint red glows stretched thin by time, yet each one radiated a confidence, a completeness, as if they had stepped out of a cosmic shortcut unknown to science. These were not early builders, they were finished creations. Their very existence suggested one unsettling truth: the universe did not start slow. It ignited into complexity with a violence we never imagined. Matter gathered faster. Dark matter clumped harder. Gravity worked overtime, sculpting galaxies before the first billion years had passed. Webb pressed onward. Behind these giants were even stranger shapes, massive glowing cores with little or no structure around them. They hovered like cosmic seeds waiting for galaxies to form, but already burning with the energy of supermassive black holes. Some were surrounded by faint halos of swirling dust. Others drifted through space alone, untethered to stars or stellar neighborhoods. These solitary beacons radiated with such intensity that Webb's sensors had to recalibrate to avoid being overwhelmed. Their silence was haunting, their brightness accusatory, as if they were demanding an explanation the universe could not give. Webb's focus then shifted to something smaller, yet equally impossible. In the Orion Nebula, one of the galaxy's brightest nurseries for stars, hundreds of wandering worlds drifted without suns. Frozen orbs the size of Jupiter, floating in pairs like cosmic twins, abandoned by their birth systems. They traveled through the nebula's glowing gas in slow, lonely arcs, bound only to each other by gravity. Some rotated quickly, their internal heat shimmering through their thick atmospheres. Others pulsed with strange radio bursts, signals so precise they seemed artificial, yet so chaotic they defied pattern. Webb listened. The signals continued. silent storms in the dark. The telescope then turned toward the youth of distant stars, where planets should be forming quietly in disks of dust and ice. But here, the story broke again. Worlds were emerging not from water-rich materials, but from carbon dioxide-dominated regions, dry, alien environments with chemistry that should not support Earth-like evolution. These proto-worlds glowed with unfamiliar signatures, building from ingredients that rewrote the recipe for planet formation. The universe was reinventing itself at every turn. Webb zoomed closer. It found fires, scorching exoplanets hugging their stars so tightly that rock itself evaporated from their surfaces. Planets that should have been bare, stripped clean by brutal radiation, were somehow holding onto thick atmospheres. The gases swirled like liquid metal storms, circulating heat across hemispheres in roaring winds faster than sound. Night sides glowed faintly from minerals that condensed, rained, evaporated, and fell again in endless metallic cycles. These were not worlds, they were living furnaces. Beyond them, drifting through interstellar silence, came an ancient visitor. A comet older than the Sunweb traced its ingredients back to a star that died before Earth existed. A messenger from a forgotten stellar system that had collapsed into darkness billions of years ago. Its path sliced through our solar system like a reminder that the galaxy was once filled with worlds we will never know. The more Webb uncovered, the clearer the pattern became. The early universe was not a peaceful nursery. It was a storm, a violent eruption of forces tearing themselves into order. And Webb was watching the aftermath. The telescope moved deeper still, its sensors brushing against the edge of cosmic dawn. There, scattered across the void, hundreds of red points glowed like distant embers. They were too bright for young galaxies, too compact for star clusters. Their energy signatures pulsed with chaotic patterns, hinting at engines powered by furious accretion or newborn black holes devouring matter faster than theory allowed. Each point was a riddle, a mismatch between what the universe should be and what it was. Webb tracked them, measured them, cataloged their impossible brightness. They sat alone in the darkness, refusing to fit into any category we've created. The discoveries mounted like a storm growing on the horizon. With every observation, the universe's calm image shattered a little more. The pages of cosmic history, once neat and ordered, became smeared with contradictions. Galaxies too massive, black holes too old, planets too strange, chemistry too exotic, signals too loud, expansion too inconsistent. Nothing matched the theories. Everything demanded a new one. Webb drifted silently in its orbit, staring deeper, searching further. Light from across time poured into its instruments, stories from eras humanity can barely imagine. And in every direction, the universe whispered the same unsettling truth. Reality was never as simple as we thought. In the cold, endless dark, the telescope kept watching. Because the next discovery, whatever it was, would not just challenge science, it would change our place in the cosmos. The deeper Webb traveled through ancient light, the more the universe began to twist into shapes that defied memory and mathematics. What was once expected to look familiar, faint galaxies assembling themselves in gentle spirals, now appeared distorted, magnified, or shattered by gravity so extreme it bent light into impossible patterns. Webb paused on a region where distant starlight warped into arcs that curled around nothing. At first glance, the distortions resembled reflections on rippling water. But this wasn't water. It was space-time itself, stretched, pulled, and curved by a mass so dense it could only be one thing: a hidden monster. A black hole so early and so massive that its very existence should have been forbidden. Its gravitational grip twisted the light of a background galaxy until it appeared in multiple places at once, each image showing a different moment in the galaxy's life. One version was bright, filled with newborn stars. Another was dimmer, older, as if time itself had fractured into separate windows. Webb watched these snapshots of cosmic history, all stacked in the same sky, all created by a single gravitational titan rewriting the pathways of reality. Space wasn't just bending, it was folding. The deeper Webb looked, the more extreme the distortions became. In places where the cosmos should have been serene, the fabric of reality trembled with invisible forces. Dark matter, once thought to be silent scaffolding, revealed its violent hand. It pulled at galaxies, stretched star clusters into thin streams, and carved bridges across millions of light years. These were structures built by something unseen, something that worked in shadow but left scars everywhere. Webb traced one of these bridges, a long filament of shredded stars drifting like cosmic debris. Their arrangement made no sense. They were too far from their parent galaxy, too neatly aligned, too perfectly spaced, as if some unseen current had dragged them through space and left them stranded in the void. It was destruction without fire, violence without light, only gravity, cold and relentless, sculpting space on scales no human mind was designed to understand. But the distortions were not isolated. They were global. Across hundreds of millions of light years, galaxies rotated in patterns they shouldn't share. Their spins were aligned as if responding to an ancient command written into the structure of the universe itself. Webb measured the angle of each rotation, comparing one to the next. The alignment persisted. Too consistent, too coordinated, too vast in scale to be coincidence. Something was guiding cosmic motion. Something older than galaxies, older than stars. Something embedded in the universe from the beginning. Webb continued its silent survey. It found turbulence. In the cores of young galaxies, gas swirled in furious storms, collapsing into brilliant pockets of light where stars burned themselves into existence. But some regions glowed with chemicals that should not have been present. Oxygen, nitrogen, carbon. Heavy elements forged in the hearts of stars that hadn't had time to live, die, and seed the cosmos. Yet here they were, fully formed, scattered through galaxies that should have been almost entirely hydrogen. It was as if the universe had cheated. As if time had folded, allowing elements from the future to appear in the past. Webb scanned deeper. It found more. Whole galaxies bursting with metal-rich stars, far earlier than should be possible. Heavy elements filling space before the cycles of creation and destruction had time to operate. The first-generation stars, once thought to be pure hydrogen giants, seemed to have vanished without leaving a trace. In their place were chemically complex systems too sophisticated for a universe only a few 100 million years old. Something was accelerating evolution. Something was forcing complexity into existence. Something was rewriting cosmic history. Webb shifted its gaze toward regions where matter pooled into enormous clouds. Here, gravity shaped gas into swirling spirals, cosmic wombs where stars were born. But the magnetic fields weaving through them told a stranger story. They were complex, tangled, ordered. Their shapes mirrored neural networks, branching into filaments that connected galaxy to galaxy, cluster to cluster. A cosmic web of magnetism stretching across space like an invisible nervous system. Webb mapped their shape. They resembled patterns seen only in biological networks. Not alive, yet disturbingly familiar. This was not random turbulence. This was structure, order, connectivity on a scale beyond comprehension. The telescope pressed on through the dark. It found a familiar glow, Sagittarius A*, the black hole at the center of our own galaxy. For years, it had been considered quiet, dormant, a sleeping giant. But Webb's instruments detected a pulse. Not a rhythm, not a pattern, something stranger. Brightness flickering in chaotic bursts, rising and falling like a cosmic heartbeat with no predictable cadence. Plasma swirled around the event horizon in churning waves, erupting into sudden flares that illuminated the surrounding darkness before fading into silence. It was not calm. It was restless. As if something deep within the event horizon was stirring. The observations revealed turbulence at scales where quantum rules and relativity collided. The boundary between classical space-time and the quantum realm began to blur. Light behaved unpredictably. Matter flickered in and out of stability. Even time seemed to jump, its flow distorted by forces that should not coexist. Webb had stumbled into the edge of understanding, a boundary where the universe refused to obey its own laws. And beyond that boundary, the anomalies multiplied. Galaxy clusters bent light more severely than they should have. Dark matter clumped into shapes that theories forbade. Gravitational forces flared where nothing visible existed. Radiation appeared without a source. Energy vanished without explanation. Patterns echoed in places separated by millions of light years. Everywhere Webb looked, the universe cracked a little more. And with each crack, a new question formed. Quiet, heavy, terrifying. What if the cosmos is not what we think it is? What if the rules we trust are temporary? What if the universe has always been hiding something deeper? The telescope drifted on, suspended in the silent dark, gathering ancient light that had traveled billions of years to reach its golden mirrors. Its mission was simple: observe. But what it observed was rewriting everything. The deeper Webb pushed through the ancient night, the more the universe began to look less like a vast expanse and more like a battlefield. A place shaped by collisions so powerful they left permanent scars across billions of light years. In the cold silence, gravity carried stories of violence that light alone could never reveal. Webb turned its gaze toward one of the strangest structures ever recorded. A galaxy shaped like an infinity symbol. Two glowing loops connected by a narrow bridge of gas and shattered starlight. What appeared beautiful from afar was, in truth, the aftermath of a cosmic catastrophe. Two galaxies had collided head-on. But instead of merging into a single chaotic system, they had frozen in a delicate balance, each core still intact, each structure still recognizable. Between them floated something far stranger, a supermassive black hole suspended in the void, not anchored to either galaxy, not centered, not stable. Just drifting in the turbulent space between two colliding titans. It should have fallen into one galaxy or the other. It should have spiraled toward the nearest mass. It should not have been floating in empty space. But it was. A black hole born from direct gravitational collapse. A cosmic avalanche so massive, it formed without stars, without a galaxy, without a home. Webb studied the glowing hydrogen surrounding it. The gas was stripped from both galaxies during the collision, funneled into a river of matter feeding the impossible black hole. It was growing in real time, devouring the chaos that created it. Streams of superheated material spiraled into its invisible mouth, releasing energy that illuminated the bridge like a cosmic scar. This was not just a collision. It was creation through destruction. Webb shifted deeper, following trails of distorted space and shimmering radiation. Nearby, another monster tore at the fabric of the early universe, a black hole consuming matter 40 times faster than physics should allow. A feeding rate so extreme, the radiation should have blown away everything around it. But Webb saw the opposite, an accretion disk holding steady, resisting the blast, funneling matter inward with an efficiency no model could explain. It was a cosmic feast, a feeding frenzy, a violation of limits once thought unbreakable. As Webb traced the streams of matter pouring into the singularity, the telescope found something more unsettling. The black hole's growth was not gradual. It happened in violent bursts, brief episodes of extreme feeding separated by eerie calm. Each burst reshaped the surrounding space, sending shockwaves through dust clouds and distorting starlight into warped spirals. These were not cosmic anomalies. They were patterns, signatures of a universe far more aggressive than expected. The telescope traveled on, crossing into regions where galaxies acted strangely quiet. Vast star systems, young by cosmic standards, sat cold and silent. Massive giants that had stopped forming stars when they should have been bursting with youth. Their dust lay undisturbed, their gas untouched, their cores dim. Something had put them to sleep. These sleeping beauty galaxies drifted through the darkness with the mass of thriving systems, but the behavior of ancient ones. Their star formation had shut down far too early. Their growth had stalled without warning. They were frozen in time during the universe's most active era. Webb analyzed their chemical signatures. The results deepened the mystery. They lacked the violent traces expected from black hole outbursts. They lacked the heat signatures left by stellar winds. They lacked the scars of collisions. They simply stopped, as if star formation had been switched off by a force that operated quietly, invisibly, without leaving a trail. Some internal process, some cosmic pressure, some unknown mechanism woven into the physics of early galaxies. Webb drifted past these silent giants and focused on a single rogue world drifting light years from any star. A cold, isolated planet glowing faintly from its own buried heat. But its atmosphere revealed storms unlike anything seen in the galaxy. Clouds of iron forming near the surface, clouds of magnesium higher above, a layered metallic sky where iron rain fell through silicate mist in storms driven by internal heat and magnetic fields stronger than any world in our solar system. High above the clouds, the atmosphere flickered with radio auroras, violent electromagnetic storms unleashed by a magnetic field so powerful it distorted the planet's upper layers. Webb watched as hotspots formed, shifted, and vanished, heated by currents flowing through the darkness of interstellar space. This world was alone. Yet it thrived in its own violent way, held together by processes no model predicted. The universe was not simply strange, it was inventive. Webb moved on. It found a galaxy shaped like an owl, two glowing eyes of starlight staring through the void, surrounded by wisps of gas forming feather-like plumes. But the beauty hid something brutal. Long tentacles of stars streamed behind it, ripped away by ram pressure as the galaxy plowed through a dense region of cosmic gas. Entire star clusters had been torn from their homes, dragged into space like debris caught in a storm. Webb traced the tentacles, following them across hundreds of thousands of light years. The stripped stars glowed with the blue light of youth, newborn systems forged far from the galaxy that birthed them. They were cosmic refugees, formed from the wreckage of a galaxy being torn apart by invisible forces. While one part of the universe nurtured creation, another shredded it. The telescope continued deeper. It found young stars producing heavy elements far too early. Chemical fingerprints of processes that should have taken billions of years compressed into a cosmic instant. The early universe wasn't gentle. It was efficient. It rushed toward complexity. It forged the building blocks of life long before theory said it should. Webb recorded every impossible spectrum, every contradiction, every anomaly that rewrote the laws of cosmic evolution. And as the data poured in, one truth grew clearer with each passing moment. The early universe wasn't waiting to form galaxies, stars, and planets. It was racing. It was accelerating. It was building the scaffolding of existence with urgency, as if driven by forces not yet understood. Something was pushing the cosmos. Something was shaping it. Something was guiding the chaos toward structure far faster than any model predicts. The silence of space felt different now. Not empty, not peaceful, but charged, alive with hidden forces moving through the darkness, steering the future of galaxies and rewriting the past of creation. And Webb had only begun to uncover them. The universe revealed its calm face only from a distance. Up close, through Webb's unblinking stare, everything softened into violence, quiet, cold, and relentless. It was no longer a cosmic tapestry of gentle spirals and glowing clusters. It was a place where matter tore itself apart, where gravity carved scars across millions of light years, and where ancient processes unfolded with a precision that felt almost deliberate. Webb drifted past a cluster where several galaxies had collided long ago. Their remnants stretched into thin, ghostly filaments, tidal streams made of shattered stars. These were the bones of galaxies, stripped by forces too vast to measure. The space around them hummed with faint infrared signatures, traces of the destruction still lingering like heat from a fire long extinguished. But beneath the visible carnage, something invisible moved. Dark matter, once thought to be passive, revealed a violent nature. Webb detected star streams twisted into shapes too sharp and abrupt to be formed by ordinary gravity. They bent at angles that defied prediction. They stretched across regions where no visible mass existed. These distortions were not random. They were signatures of collisions involving dark matter itself. Dark violence, hidden battles in a realm we cannot see. Entire galaxies had been torn apart by invisible currents. Their stars drifted like embers dragged by a wind no instrument could detect. Webb traced these currents, mapping the faint glow of scattered dust that clung to the paths carved through the void. It became clear that dark matter was not simply scaffolding. It was an active, aggressive architect, reshaping the universe with silent blows. Further along these cosmic fault lines, the telescope found a lensing event so severe it fractured a single galaxy into multiple images scattered across the sky. Not reflections. Not repetitions. Versions. Each path of light had traveled a different route through warped space-time, reaching Webb with delays that measured the bending of reality itself. Each version showed the galaxy at a different moment in its existence. A time machine formed by gravity. A window into 4 histories unfolding simultaneously. The mass required to create such distortion should have been detectable. But it wasn't. The visible matter was too small. The dark matter was too dense, clumped into structures that defied every model. It was as if the early universe had forged knots in space-time, tight, concentrated pockets of gravity formed through mechanisms that theory had never imagined. Webb pushed deeper still. It found star systems so young their planets were still forming, but the chemistry was wrong. Worlds emerged from dry, carbon-dominated disks where water should have been plentiful. Carbon dioxide glowed in regions usually rich with ice. These planets were building themselves from ingredients that would have been considered impossible only years before. Entire classes of worlds were forming through pathways unknown to science. Closer to their stars, heat reshaped matter into violent storms. Planets covered in oceans of molten rock. Atmospheres thick with vaporized minerals. Winds carrying droplets of glowing metal. These were not stable worlds. They were experiments in planetary physics, scenarios that stretched chemistry to its breaking point. And yet, some held onto atmospheres through processes that defied expectation. Volcanic gases rose through molten surfaces, replenishing atmospheres that radiation tried to destroy. Webb saw rock itself turning to vapor, rising into the sky in shimmering currents that condensed into storms of liquid stone. The universe was not just building worlds. It was testing the boundaries of what a world could be. Webb pressed on, its mirrors catching the faint glow of an interstellar traveler. A comet older than the Sun, older than Earth, older than the entire solar system. A fragment of a star system that died long before humanity existed. Its path through the galaxy was a whisper from a forgotten age. Webb analyzed its chemical signature, primordial, untouched, ancient. It was a relic of a universe more violent than today, a survivor of explosions that reshaped stellar neighborhoods before the sun was born. And yet it drifted quietly, as if carrying memories of an era no living thing would ever witness again. The deeper Webb looked, the more disturbing the patterns became. The little red dots, once dismissed as noise or distant galaxies, formed a network of anomalies scattered across the earliest eras. They were too compact, too bright, too violent. Some behaved like black holes, others like hyperactive star clusters. They pulsed with energy signatures that ignored every known category. They felt like placeholders for a chapter of cosmic physics not yet discovered. And in the spaces between them, across filaments of the cosmic web, ancient magnetic fields twisted in patterns that mirrored neural structures. These were not simple fields. They were organized networks spanning galaxies. They shaped the collapse of gas. They sculpted star formation. They guided matter into filaments stretching across the cosmic landscape like invisible veins. It was structure layered within structure. order hidden inside chaos, patterns embedded in space-time itself. Webb then turned toward the heart of the Milky Way, locking onto Sagittarius A*, the black hole that anchors our galaxy. It was expected to be quiet, but its glow flickered in erratic bursts, flashes of infrared light rising from turbulence near the event horizon. Plasma swirled in currents so fast they blurred into waves of brightness. Each flare was a surge of energy escaping a boundary where physics breaks down. There was no rhythm, no heartbeat, no pattern, only chaos. Only a glimpse into a region where time stretches, particles scatter, and the smooth surface of reality fractures into uncertainty. Webb watched as matter spiraled inward, sometimes vanishing softly, sometimes erupting into violent flares before being swallowed forever. The telescope was witnessing the front lines of the universe's most extreme physics, where the rules we trust collapse into silence. Every discovery carried the same message, repeated in the quiet glow of ancient light. The universe is older, faster, stranger, and more fragile than we ever believed. And the deeper Webb looked, the more that fragility revealed itself, not as weakness, but as truth, a truth we were never prepared to face. The universe, when viewed through ordinary telescopes, appears calm, an ocean of distant lights twinkling across unfathomable distances. But through Webb, that calm dissolved into something far more intense. Deep in the darkness, the telescope found places where creation and destruction were not separate events, but the same process, unfolding in the same breath, the same spark, the same collapse. Webb fixed its gaze on a region where gravity and chaos collided in ways no model had anticipated. Two galaxies were merging, but instead of the usual spiraling dance, they erupted into streaks of gas and light arcing outward like cosmic shockwaves. In the center, a newborn black hole grew at catastrophic speed, an infant giant devouring matter like a creature starving since the dawn of time. This was direct collapse in action, not the slow death of stars creating tiny black seeds, not the gentle buildup of mass over eons. This was gas itself collapsing under its own weight. No star stage, no waiting, no hesitation. A titan formed instantly, as if the universe itself demanded one at that exact moment. Its gravity carved channels through the merging galaxies, pulling rivers of matter inward. Dust spiraled into its event horizon in glowing torrents. The surrounding gas heated until it radiated like a furnace. New stars ignited in the shockwaves, forming in the thin shells of material compressed by the collision. Creation and consumption wrapped around each other like cosmic twins. Webb moved on, tracing the collapsed gas streams as they rippled through space. Then it found something even stranger. A black hole that had no right to exist, one so massive, so early, that it violated every timeline in cosmology. It fed at a pace that bent the rules of physics. It devoured at 40 times the rate nature should allow. It grew as if the universe had poured its earliest chaos directly into its core. Around it, matter rotated in spirals of light that resembled whirlpools of molten gold. Radiation erupted in explosive flashes, then vanished into sudden calm. Webb recorded each outburst, each silent interval, each runaway surge of cosmic hunger. The feeding pattern was not random. It was episodic. Violent bursts, separated by quiet intervals that left behind a faint afterglow in the surrounding gas. It felt like the black hole was breathing, not with rhythm, but with appetite. Brief moments of stillness, then catastrophic consumption. Webb traveled deeper into the surrounding region, only to uncover a different kind of silence. Denser, stranger. Entire galaxies sat frozen in time, star formation halted, as if the cosmos had pressed a cosmic pause button. These sleeping giants hovered in the dark, glowing faintly with the light of ancient stars. They should have been vibrant, bursting with newborn suns, but instead they were cold, still, dormant. Something had turned off their future. Their gas reservoirs were untouched, their dust unburned. Their stellar nurseries remained intact but lifeless. Webb detected no violent winds from central black holes, no supernova remnants, no energetic events to explain the sudden stoppage. These galaxies had simply decided not to grow. The telescope drifted past their quiet glow and focused on a solitary world drifting far between stars. This rogue planet was unlike any world catalogued before. Its clouds formed from iron. Its upper atmosphere shimmered with magnesium silicates. Radio auroras crackled across its sky like electrical storms on a scale no planet should endure. Seas of vaporized metal rose and fell with each atmospheric current. Webb watched patches of heat bloom at the top of the atmosphere, glowing like embers before fading into darkness. These hotspots were not sunlight. They were powered by internal forces, magnetic interactions humming through the planet like the pulse of some hidden engine. Far beyond it, drifting alone in a nebula, the telescope found more fragments of cosmic storms, entire galaxies being torn apart by invisible pressure as they moved through dense regions of the cosmic web. Tentacles of stars trailed behind them, reaching across space like luminous debris left in the wake of a collapsing giant. These were jellyfish galaxies, drifting through a medium so violent that it stripped away their stars in real time. The tentacles glowed with the light of freshly born stars, new life forged from destruction. Webb traced each filament, watching young stars ignite in the stripped debris, far from the home that birthed them. These stellar refugees would spend their existence drifting between galaxies, carrying with them the memory of a conflict invisible to the human eye. But even this violence paled next to what Webb found deeper still. Chemical fingerprints in some early galaxies revealed something that should not be possible: the presence of heavy elements long before enough stars had lived and died to forge them. These galaxies glowed with the signatures of oxygen, carbon, and nitrogen, the building blocks of planets and life, far too early in cosmic history. The first generation of stars, the so-called Population 3 giants, should have been enormous, short-lived explosions of hydrogen and helium. They should have died before spreading heavy elements across space. Yet Webb saw no trace of their existence. The universe had skipped a step. Elemental complexity arrived too early, as if some unknown process had enriched the cosmos without the usual cycle of stellar birth and death. Webb moved closer to our own cosmic backyard. It fixed its gaze on a region near Alpha Centauri A, our closest stellar neighbor. One observation revealed a glowing world, a potential planet, warming in the star's gentle light. But when Webb returned, the world was gone. No heat signature, no faint glow, nothing. A planet that appears once, then vanishes, should not exist. But Webb had recorded it, clearly, unmistakably. Its absence raised questions no model could answer. Was it hidden by dust? Did it drift behind another object? Was it never a planet at all, but something stranger, something transitioning between states we do not yet understand? Webb scanned again. Nothing, only the quiet hum of empty space. By now, every discovery pointed toward a larger truth, one heavy enough to settle into the silence between galaxies. The early universe was not simply evolving. It was behaving, acting, performing processes far faster, far stranger, far more violent than any model predicted. And layered beneath all of it, beneath every anomaly and contradiction, was something even deeper, something woven into space-time itself: patterns, connections, structures shaped by forces not yet understood. Webb had crossed from discovery into revelation, and the universe was no longer a familiar place. The deeper Webb traveled into the silent dark, the more reality began to bend, not just visually, but structurally. Space no longer behaved like an empty backdrop. It shifted, flexed, and twisted under forces that seemed to move beneath the visible universe, like deep currents beneath an ocean. Webb recorded these distortions one by one, each more unsettling than the last. The first signs appeared in a region packed with merging galaxies. Light from distant systems curved sharply around invisible masses, forming arcs stretched so thin they resembled filaments of glass. Webb traced the curvature with the precision of its infrared sensors, calculating the mass required to bend space to such extremes. The answer was impossible. The mass wasn't there, at least not visibly. The distortion was too strong, the bends too sharp, the gravitational lensing too precise. Something enormous was hiding in the void. Webb followed the arc of warped starlight until it converged on a region with no stars, no galaxies, no gas, only darkness. Yet that darkness pulled on the universe with the weight of countless suns. A silent gravitational presence, ancient and unmoving, warping space-time without leaving even a trace of visible matter. This was not emptiness, it was a structure, a void with mass, something cosmology had never accounted for. Webb shifted its focus slightly, widening the field of view. Beyond the void, the cosmic web stretched outward in strands of glowing gas and dark matter. But the strands were not smooth. They twisted, they braided, they coiled. They formed loops and spirals that mimicked the patterns of magnetic fields, each filament connected like nerves in a brain too large to comprehend. These filaments pulsed faintly with heat left behind by ancient events. Shock waves moved along them, echoes of collisions millions of years old. Webb watched these waves travel across hundreds of thousands of light years, as if the universe itself were transmitting messages through its own structure. The telescope pushed farther, and a new mystery emerged. Galaxies separated by enormous distances were spinning with the same orientation. Their angular momentum aligned, as though pulled into formation by an unseen hand. Webb measured each rotational axis, comparing one galaxy to another across vast and disconnected regions of space. The alignment persisted. It repeated. It spread across the sky like a pattern etched into the universe from the moment of its birth. Galaxies were not isolated. They were coordinated. Something in the early universe had given them direction, an imprint of motion carried across billions of years. Perhaps the cosmos itself had been born spinning. Perhaps rotation was written into the very geometry of space-time. Webb continued, capturing an even stranger sight. A galaxy so massive it bent light into multiple images of itself, each version a different age, a different stage of its evolution. Time was stretched around it like taffy. The galaxy appeared 4 times in one frame, each separated by millions of years in cosmic history. Webb had seen gravitational lensing before, but never like this. Here, space-time was not just curved, it was knotted, a gravitational knot so intense that light had been forced into looping pathways. Each loop had a different length, a different route through warped space, arriving at Webb's mirror as 4 separate chapters of one galaxy's life. It was a cosmic diary scattered across the sky. The deeper Webb scanned, the more these knots multiplied. Some were tight and compact. Some were stretched thin, like strands of cosmic wire. All of them indicated a universe far more tangled than theory allowed, a universe shaped by collisions and forces that had scarred space-time itself. Webb drifted farther toward the heart of these distortions. There it found ancient magnetic fields, structures woven into the cosmic web long before the first stars ignited. They were older than galaxies, older than clusters, older than anything with mass. They stretched across millions of light years in organized, coherent patterns. Their shapes mirrored neural networks, branching into nodes that connected clusters, like synapses linking cosmic neurons. These patterns were not random. They were architectural, intentional in structure, if not in purpose. They shaped the flow of gas, they guided star formation, they directed matter into cosmic highways that spanned the universe. Webb captured the signals from these fields, faint pulses of polarized light, traveling along magnetic filaments like messages carried across the cosmic web. These were not static structures, they were dynamic, shifting slowly across time, restructuring themselves as galaxies formed and died. The universe was not a quiet place. It was active, it was wired. And then Webb saw something stranger still. The telescope caught a region near the edge of a galaxy cluster where space-time did not behave smoothly. Shadows flickered in the gravitational field, abrupt shifts, as if the fabric of reality were glitching. Light curved in jagged lines. Gas clouds split as if pushed by invisible walls. It was a turbulence not of matter, but of space-time itself. Quantum foam, once thought to exist only at unimaginably tiny scales, appeared to ripple into the macroscopic. Webb recorded fluctuations near black holes that resembled the chaotic jitter predicted by quantum theories, but never observed at cosmic distances. Space wasn't stable, it wasn't smooth. It flickered, alive with restless energy. The telescope watched as one region of space-time briefly brightened, generating a burst of unexplained radiation. Then another, and another. Tiny tears, tiny pulses, tiny fractures, as though the universe had weak points, stressed seams in the structure of reality. The deeper Webb looked, the more fragile space-time appeared, not like glass, but like fabric, woven, stretched, stressed. Each discovery unfolded into a question. Each question folded into another. And beneath them all was a growing sense of inevitability. The universe was not just surprising, it was unstable, not collapsing, not failing, just revealing weaknesses, exposing hidden mechanisms, showing cracks where forces beyond our understanding shaped the evolution of everything. Webb hovered in the silent dark, staring into the cosmic architecture with its golden mirrors. Every discovery hinted at something deeper, something unified, something that tied rotation, magnetic networks, space-time distortions, and dark matter violence into one underlying truth. The telescope was getting close. Too close. Close enough to glimpse the edge of an answer buried in the structure of reality itself. And the next step would push it into the heart of the universe's most dangerous secrets. Webb drifted deeper, its golden mirrors fixed on a region of space where the familiar rules of cosmic order began to unravel into something far more dangerous. Here, galaxies no longer moved in gentle spirals. They writhed, they twisted, they collided in ways that felt less like natural evolution and more like cosmic instability, reaching a breaking point. The telescope focused on a galaxy split by gravitational tides, one half intact, the other torn into threads of starlight stretching across intergalactic darkness. These stellar streams glowed faintly, scattered like sparks from some ancient explosion. Their paths curved through space in long, elegant arcs, shaped not by visible matter but by invisible forces pulling from the dark. Webb measured those forces. They were too strong, too abrupt, too tightly focused. Dark matter was not simply drifting through space. It was acting, pulling, compressing, ripping. The galaxy wasn't dying from internal collapse. It was being torn apart by an unseen current flowing through the cosmic web. Webb mapped this current. It extended for millions of light years, a river of invisible mass guided by forces beyond ordinary gravity. These dark matter tides moved with patterns that felt intentional, flowing along magnetic filaments, weaving through gas clouds, shaping the growth of galaxies that tried to form in their path. They controlled where stars were born and where they were smothered before ignition. They carved out cosmic deserts where galaxies simply could not survive. The telescope drifted toward another anomaly. A cluster of galaxies merged in slow motion, their cores spiraling toward one another, like dancers locked in a gravitational embrace. But something strange pulsed between them, a shockwave of light radiating outward in rhythmic flashes. Webb tuned its sensors to the pulse and found something even more unsettling. The pulses were not random. They followed the pattern of gravitational reconnection, events where cosmic magnetic fields tore apart and snapped back together, releasing bursts of energy powerful enough to ignite entire nebulae. These were cosmic earthquakes, magnetic fractures shaking the universe, invisible storms ripping through galaxy clusters. Webb watched as gas clouds shattered, compressed, ignited. Star formation exploded in some regions and died instantly in others. Galaxies flickered with sudden bursts of ultraviolet light as their cores reacted to the magnetic shock. The universe was not quiet. It was seething. The telescope pushed deeper into the region, capturing something stranger still. A galaxy that appeared in several locations at once, not as a lensing echo but as overlapping shadows, smeared across space as though its light had been dragged sideways. Webb recalculated, checked its orientation, checked again. The distortion wasn't lensing, it wasn't motion blur, it was space-time shear. Regions of reality sliding against one another, like tectonic plates shifting under a cosmic crust. Where these shears overlapped, light fractured. Images doubled. The galaxy appeared where it wasn't. It vanished where it should have been. This wasn't just a break in physics. It was a sign of stress, space under tension. Webb followed the shear until it reached the boundary of a massive void. The void was darker than anything the telescope had recorded, an expanse so empty it looked carved. Not by chance, not by natural expansion, but by pressure. Something had pushed matter away. Webb scanned the edges. At the boundary, faint radiation flickered, signatures of energy trapped at the edge of the void. These emissions behaved like echoes, vibrations in space-time left behind by an event so violent its shockwave was still traveling billions of years later. The telescope drifted on, catching faint whispers of infrared light from stars torn away and hurled into the emptiness. Their trajectories were wrong, too fast, too linear, too precise. They looked like debris launched from a cosmic eruption that had reshaped this entire region of space-time long before galaxies settled into their current positions. Webb tracked the stars. They formed a ring, perfectly circular, encircling the void like the aftermath of an explosion. Whatever happened here didn't just destroy matter. It sculpted reality. The telescope moved farther toward regions untouched by this blast, only to find new anomalies emerging. Clusters of early galaxies glowed with heavy elements far too advanced for their age. Their chemical fingerprints told a story of accelerated evolution, of stars that had forged and released complex elements in cycles so rapid they defied thermonuclear limits. Webb examined one galaxy in particular. It existed only 330 million years after the Big Bang, yet its chemical signature resembled a system billions of years old. It was enriched, matured, evolved, far ahead of schedule. The telescope searched for traces of supernova remnants. None. It searched for evidence of population 3 giants. None. The heavy elements were simply there, formed without the usual timeline. Another break in the cosmic script. Webb entered a quieter region where gravity softened and the glow of ancient starlight filled the darkness. Here, rogue planets drifted between the debris of shattered systems. Some were cold, lifeless. Others glowed faintly from internal heat. One world flickered with radio emissions, high-frequency pulses that repeated at irregular intervals. Webb locked onto the signal. It echoed, it changed pitch, it vanished, then returned. These bursts were far too strong to be simple magnetic storms. They resembled auroras, but amplified to levels extreme enough to rival pulsars. The rogue world, drifting alone in the darkness, acted like a cosmic radio engine powered by internal fields that should not exist without a star. The telescope watched its atmosphere. Clouds of metallic vapor swirled in layers. Lightning flickered in colors not found on Earth. Deep violet, burning white, metallic gold. This was not a dead world. It was alive with motion and charge. Webb backed away, moving deeper along the cosmic web. Everywhere it turned, the universe revealed contradictions. Galaxies too old, stars too enriched, voids too empty, structures too coordinated, black holes too massive, space-time too unstable, and beneath it all, a pattern emerged. A subtle rhythm felt in the alignment of galaxies, in the shape of magnetic filaments, in the timing of cosmic events. A rhythm deeper than gravity, older than stars, woven into the fabric of space-time. Webb had become aware of something the universe had hidden in plain sight for billions of years. A single question now hung in the silence of the cosmos. Was the universe expanding, or was it reacting? The deeper Webb drifted, the more the universe seemed to reveal a quiet truth, subtle, faint, woven into every structure the telescope had captured. It was not a single discovery, not one anomaly, not one contradiction. It was all of them together, painting a picture of a cosmos that had never behaved the way humanity imagined. Webb's instruments focused on a distant region where early galaxies burned with light stretched thin by time. These galaxies had no reason to exist in such mature states so early. Their structures were tight, organized, luminous, behaving not like youthful systems, but like old giants living far ahead of schedule. Yet their light carried something deeper, a faint trace of synchronized formation. Webb mapped their shapes, their alignments, their rotational axes, their elemental signatures. And one thing became clear. They were not random, they were not isolated, they were connected. From across 40 million light-years, their rotations matched. Their shapes echoed one another. Their star formation histories pulsed in similar rhythms. It was as if these galaxies, separated by impossible distances, had been shaped by the same invisible hand. Webb scanned the space between them. The cosmic filaments pulsed with polarized light. Magnetic fields arced through the void like neural pathways. Dark matter rivers flowed in intertwined loops. The cosmos wasn't chaotic. It was patterned. A pattern too large for human intuition. A design shaped not by intention, but by the physics of birth. Physics that operated long before stars existed. Webb drifted through these filaments, watching energy ripple through them like faint vibrations humming along cosmic strings. Near the heart of one filament, the telescope found a gravitational anomaly, a region where space-time curved inward as if pinched. The distortion was soft, gentle, but unmistakable. Webb measured the curvature. It matched distortions seen near black holes. But this region contained no object, no mass, no cluster, nothing visible. It was a wrinkle in space-time, a fold, a scar left from the earliest moments of the cosmos. Webb scanned the edges. Ripples moved outward like shockwaves frozen in time. The void hummed faintly with background radiation older than galaxies. This was not natural settling. This was memory, space remembering something violent. Webb followed the ripples until they reached a boundary where light curved sharply, creating a faint halo. The halo marked the edge of a space-time bubble, a region where the early universe had expanded at a different rate than everything around it. The Hubble tension. The expansion discrepancy. The contradiction that physics had been fighting for decades. It wasn't an error, it was structure. Different regions of space had expanded under different conditions, like ripples on a pond. Some waves fast, some slow, all originating from the same ancient disturbance. The expansion of the universe wasn't uniform. It was layered, fractured, uneven. Webb stared through the distortion and saw galaxies stretched thin, their light smeared into elongated arcs. These arcs formed spirals, tails, loops, patterns too consistent to be coincidence. The universe was not expanding like a balloon. It was expanding like a whirlpool, not outward from a single point, but spiraling through its own geometry. Space wasn't simply stretching, it was spinning. Webb drifted deeper, widening its reach. In the twisting glow of distant clusters, the telescope found gravitational threads, lines of distortion that pointed in the same direction across enormous distances. These lines aligned with galaxy rotations. They aligned with magnetic filaments. They aligned with the unnerving asymmetry in cosmic expansion. The entire universe had a preferred direction, a cosmic axis. As if the Big Bang itself had rotated, Webb captured a region of the cosmic microwave background, a faint haze of ancient radiation left from the universe's birth. The pattern showed subtle temperature variations forming a swirl barely perceptible on ordinary maps. But through Webb's processing, the swirl sharpened. A gentle twist, a signature of rotation embedded in the oldest light. Everything was pointing toward one truth. The universe had angular momentum, The cosmos was born spinning. Space itself was rotating at scales too large for galaxies to notice, but just large enough for Webb to detect. And if the universe was spinning, its expansion made sense. Its contradictions made sense. Its imbalances made sense. A spinning universe would expand faster in some directions and slower in others. It would imprint rotational alignment into early galaxies. It would bend space-time into spirals and shears. It would create voids shaped by centrifugal forces. It would generate cosmic filaments that behaved like magnetic circuits. It would produce gravitational anomalies, where rotation twisted space-time into knots. Webb looked deeper, past the filaments, past the knots, past the voids. At the edge of its observational reach, the telescope found shadows, faint, distant distortions. Light bent not just around mass, but around geometry. Curves that resembled the physics of event horizons, patterns that matched the rotation of black holes, symmetries identical to space-time inside their boundaries. The deeper Webb looked, the more the universe resembled not a cosmos expanding from nothing, but the interior of something enormous. Every observation whispered the same conclusion. The universe was shaped like the inside of a rotating black hole, not metaphorically, not symbolically, structurally. Galaxies aligned like particles in a swirling accretion flow. Expansion imbalanced like in falling space-time. Magnetic networks stretched like frame-dragged fields. Voids carved like regions of gravitational shear. Cosmic rotation matching the angular momentum of a central singularity. Webb paused in its silent drift. If the universe had been born inside a larger structure, if the Big Bang was not a beginning but a crossing, if space-time itself carried the signatures of a deeper reality, then everything humanity understood about existence, about origin, about destiny, was suddenly too small, too limited, too narrow for what the telescope was now revealing. The universe was not just expanding, it was spiraling. It was shaped by forces inherited at birth, forces older than light, older than time. And the truth, waiting on the other side of these patterns, was larger than cosmology had ever dared to imagine. Webb recorded the final measurements, then drifted on into the quiet dark where the next revelation waited. In the silent dark beyond familiar stars, Webb revealed a universe that behaves nothing like the one written in textbooks. With every observation, the telescope uncovered fragments of a larger truth, pieces scattered across time, woven through galaxies, hidden inside the deep structure of space-time itself. Now, those pieces are ready to come together. Ahead lies the story of a universe that grew too fast, too violently, too intelligently patterned to be governed by simple rules. Ancient galaxies formed in defiance of cosmic clocks. Black holes appeared in ages where no stars had yet died. Rogue worlds drifted through the void, broadcasting signals that threaded through space like coded pulses. Magnetic filaments stretched across millions of light years, arranged in structures that mirrored neural pathways found in living systems. These were not isolated discoveries. They were signals, breadcrumbs left behind in the cosmic dark. As Webb pushed deeper, the fabric of space-time revealed hidden scars, regions where gravity folded into impossible shapes, voids so enormous and empty they felt carved, not formed, filaments twisting in synchronized patterns. Expansion behaving like a turning wheel rather than an inflating sphere. The oldest light in existence carried the faint memory of rotation, a subtle spin written into the first radiation the universe ever produced. Taken alone, each finding could be dismissed as anomaly. Together, they formed a map of a universe with history, a universe with motion, a universe born with momentum. Webb's next observations bring us into regions where that momentum becomes unmistakable, where galaxies separated by millions of light years tilt in unison, where cosmic rivers of dark matter shape the destinies of entire clusters, where space-time behaves like fluid, stirring in currents that ripple across the dark. Ahead lies a realm where black holes feed with impossible hunger, growing faster than physics should allow. Some drift alone through intergalactic night, stripped of galaxies yet shining with the light of shredded matter spiraling into their depths. Others formed directly from collapsing gas, skipping the birth and death of stars entirely, emerging like sudden scars in space-time. Webb will guide us into the early universe, where chemical fingerprints appeared too advanced, suggesting that the cosmos developed complexity long before it should have. Heavy elements glowed in galaxies younger than 1 billion years, as if creation itself had accelerated the process. As if the universe was determined to build structure faster than models could predict. The next revelations lead toward an even deeper mystery. Across vast regions, galaxies organize themselves in patterns too broad to be shaped by chance. Magnetic fields stretch across cosmic filaments like conductive pathways. Shock waves from ancient collisions travel through clusters, as though the universe carries memory of every violent event. Gravitational distortions appear not as smooth curves, but as jagged fractures, hints of strain where spacetime absorbs the stresses of creation. From these clues, a picture will emerge of a universe not guided by gradual evolution, but by powerful forces left behind from the moment of birth. Our cosmic landscape carries fingerprints of an origin more violent and more structured than human science ever imagined. Webb will take us to the edge of these fingerprints, where expansion fractures into contradictory speeds, faster in some directions, slower in others, where spacetime twists in subtle spirals, where large-scale orientation points toward a preferred axis, where the cosmos behaves not like a static stage, but like the interior of something rotating. In these next moments, the story will follow the evidence into the most unsettling implications of all. The universe might not be expanding from nothing. It might be stretching because it is falling inward toward a deeper gravitational well, falling through curved geometry that we detect as acceleration, falling the way matter falls inside the event horizon of a black hole. Webb has already seen structures that resemble the frame-dragging effects around rotating singularities, patterns of motion that ripple across entire clusters. It has found hints of space-time deformation consistent with interior collapse. It has captured alignments, distortions, gradients, and rotational signatures that defy the expectations of a universe born in a single, uniform explosion. Beyond this lies the truth, waiting in the final sections of the story, a truth that traces every strange discovery back to one idea so large it reframes everything humans believe about existence. That the birth of our universe might not have been a beginning, that the Big Bang might not have been an explosion, that cosmic rotation might not be coincidence, that expansion might not be outward motion at all. Webb has mapped the symptoms. Soon, the cause will reveal itself. These next chapters explore the implications, what it means if the universe carries rotational memory, what it means if spacetime is stretched inside an unseen boundary, what it means if the early cosmos behaved like matter inside a collapsed structure, what it means if every galaxy, every filament, every void points toward a larger geometry. The story ahead is not speculation. It is shaped entirely by the patterns Webb has measured, patterns that lead to one final question. If the universe behaves like the inside of a black hole, what lies beyond the horizon that contains us? And what does that mean for everything we call reality? The discoveries that spilled from Webb's infrared eyes reshaped not just astronomy, but the very foundation of how we imagine the cosmos. Yet behind every strange galaxy, every impossible black hole, every twisted filament of matter and light, there are deeper layers, facts that transform these mysteries from distant curiosities into revelations about the universe's true nature. Here are the truths hidden beneath the story, truths that turn observation into understanding, and understanding into realization. Webb's deep surveys revealed galaxies that lived too fast, giants born when the universe was only a few 100 million years old, glowing with maturity they should not have had time to achieve. Their existence shows that early cosmic evolution was not slow or steady. It was turbulent, compressed, accelerated by forces that shaped matter with urgency. These massive ancient galaxies contained billions of stars. They were structured, organized, and luminous long before they should have reached such stability. Their formation challenges the very timeline of cosmic history, suggesting that gravity, dark matter, and gas behaved with efficiencies far beyond anything we see today. Then came the black holes, monsters too old, too heavy, too naked to fit any known model. Webb found them drifting alone in the void, stripped of galaxies, yet radiating with the light of devoured matter. Some appeared only a few 100 million years after the Big Bang, far too early for stars to have formed and died to create them. These black holes point to formation mechanisms that bypass stars entirely. Direct collapse events where gas clouds imploded under their own mass. Some may even be primordial, forged in the chaos of the universe's first seconds, acting as seeds that shaped the cosmic structures we see now. Webb then uncovered rogue worlds with atmospheres made of metal, planets glowing with internal heat, shining with electrical storms powered by magnetic fields stronger than anything in our solar system. These free-floating giants drifted through space without stars, yet they pulsed with radio emissions that hinted at internal processes operating far from any stellar influence. The existence of such worlds shows that planets can form, survive, and evolve in environments vastly different from the familiar cradle of a solar system. They challenge every rule about planetary birth and atmospheres, expanding the boundaries of what a world can be. Webb's surveys of galaxy clusters revealed another layer of truth. Dark matter is not passive. It behaves with violence. It tears galaxies apart, leaving threads of stars stretched across intergalactic space. These stellar streams act like footprints in the dark, tracing the movements of invisible forces shaping entire cosmic neighborhoods. Such disruption on this scale means that dark matter interactions, though silent and unseen, play an active role in galactic evolution. They scoped the universe with unseen hands, forming bridges, tunnels, and networks that guide the architecture of the cosmos. Then came the cosmic filaments, magnetic structures so vast they resemble neural networks. Webb detected organized patterns stretching across millions of light years, shaping the flow of gas and influencing star formation like currents in a vast ocean. These filaments weren't random. They had nodes, they had branches, they had repeating structures. Their complexity showed that magnetism, often overlooked in cosmic evolution, plays a far greater role than previously imagined. It organizes matter, shapes clusters, and creates pathways for energy to travel across the universe. Space-time itself revealed its secrets through Webb. Ripples in gravitational fields, scar-like folds where the early universe had been stretched or torn, regions where space behaved like fluid under tension. These distortions showed that space-time is not uniform or stable. It remembers its past. It carries the imprint of ancient events, collisions, expansions, rotations, that still influence the modern cosmos. In the faint glow of ancient radiation, Webb detected temperature variations arranged in subtle spirals. These patterns suggested that the universe had been born with rotation. This spin echoed through galaxies, clusters, and filaments, aligning their structures in directions that defy randomness. A rotating universe doesn't expand symmetrically. It expands unevenly. It stretches space faster along one axis than another. It leaves behind echoes, cosmic signatures that Webb cataloged piece by piece. Then came gravitational lensing so extreme that galaxies appeared multiple times in one frame, each image a different era of the same object. These distortions acted like cosmic mirrors, reflecting the curvature of space-time with startling clarity. The patterns matched the interior dynamics of black holes, the way light bends, the way time stretches, the way gravity folds into itself. Webb had captured the large-scale behaviors of space-time that resembled the physics of an event horizon, except these effects spanned billions of light years. Finally, the Hubble tension delivered one of the clearest clues of all. The universe expands at contradictory speeds depending on how we measure it. These disagreements aren't errors. They're fingerprints of a deeper geometry. Expansion varies because space-time isn't expanding uniformly, it's spiraling. It's stretching unevenly. It's behaving like the interior of a rotating gravitational well. Stack every fact side by side, and the implications form a single trajectory. The early universe was violent, structured, and fast. Its filaments behaved like circuitry. Its expansion carried memory. Its galaxies aligned. Its dark matter sculpted. Its black holes predated stars. Its space-time bent in patterns matching interior collapse. Webb revealed not a universe drifting gently into cosmic night, but a universe shaped by forces inherited from birth, a universe whose origin might not resemble an explosion, but something far more intricate. These facts lead toward one final revelation, a possibility so vast it reshapes the meaning of existence, a possibility that the universe we live in is not simply expanding, but falling through the curved geometry of a larger structure, falling the way matter behaves inside the boundary of a rotating black hole. Every anomaly, every contradiction, every impossible discovery becomes part of a single pattern. A pattern pointing toward a cosmos far stranger, deeper, and more connected than humans ever imagined. And what lies behind that pattern will be revealed next. In the final sweep of Webb's silent drift, the universe revealed its deepest truth, one hidden not in a single anomaly, but in the shape of everything. Galaxies, filaments, voids, expansion, rotation. Every strange discovery led to the same horizon, the same realization, the same overwhelming silence that followed Webb across the cosmic dark. As the telescope traced the edges of the deepest voids, space-time bent in curves too sharp for ordinary gravity. Light spiraled, twisted, folded. Galaxies far beyond the void, aligned in arcs that all pointed toward a single, imperceptible direction, an axis woven into the structure of the universe itself. Not symbolic, not metaphorical, tangible in the data, present in the earliest radiation ever released, echoed in the rotational tilt of galaxies separated by millions of light years. Webb's sensors recorded the faint curl of temperature shifts in the cosmic microwave background, barely, their spirals etched into the universe's oldest light. These spirals matched the twisting orientation of filaments, the uneven acceleration of cosmic expansion, and the coordinated spins of early galaxies. Gravity alone could not create this pattern. Random chance could not sustain it. No current model could explain it. The universe was carrying memory, memory of rotation, memory of an origin with angular momentum. Everything Webb observed curved inward toward this truth. It explained why early galaxies grew too fast, why black holes appeared before stars, why dark matter flowed in rivers instead of clouds, why space-time fractured into knots and shears, why the universe expanded unevenly, as if stretched more in one direction than another. Webb had uncovered not chaos, but inheritance. The cosmos was not born from a uniform explosion. It was born inside a rotating system, one so immense its influence stretched across billions of years of cosmic evolution. The deeper Webb looked, the more the universe behaved like the internal geometry of a spinning gravitational well. The distortions matched the way light bends inside an event horizon. The expansion resembled the stretching of space as matter falls inward. The rotational alignments mimicked the frame-dragging effect near a spinning singularity. Webb wasn't just looking back in time, it was looking outward into curvature. Curvature that suggested the universe itself was a deeper structure. A structure with boundaries. A structure shaped by forces outside its visible edges. A structure that behaved like the interior of something larger. The final realization came not from a single image, but from a pattern repeating everywhere Webb pointed. The universe was expanding as if it were falling. Not outward, but inward through curved space. Not exploding, but stretching along a rotating geometry. Webb had seen enough pieces to reveal the outline of the truth. We are living inside a cosmic interior, a realm shaped by rotation, a realm governed by curvature stronger than any black hole humans have ever observed. This was not a conclusion drawn from theory. It was carved into the galaxies themselves, burned into the cosmic microwave background. written in the alignment of clusters, etched into the shape of space-time. Everything pointed toward a universe contained within a boundary we cannot see. A boundary that defines our cosmic horizon. A boundary that absorbs light, energy, and time itself. To us, it appears infinite. To something beyond, it is finite, structured, self-contained. Webb drifted forward, mapping the edges of this truth, revealing a cosmos that is not simply expanding, but evolving inside a deeper frame of reality. A cosmos shaped by forces we cannot directly touch, but can only infer through the curvature they leave behind. Reality is larger than we imagined, older, more complex, and far more structured. The universe is not fragile. It is precise, balanced on forces older than stars, older than galaxies, older than time as we understand it. We are not wandering through emptiness. We are living inside a vast, rotating architecture of space-time, one that is still unfolding, still evolving, still revealing its secrets one faint photon at a time. Webb has shown that the universe is not a static story, it is a living one. A story written in light and gravity, a story that spans billions of years. A story still being told through every distant galaxy, every ancient star, every ripple in cosmic radiation. And though its scale dwarfs us, though its mysteries challenge every assumption humanity has ever made, it is also a reminder, quiet, powerful, humbling, that even in the vast darkness we belong to something astonishing, something grand, something intricate, something alive with motion and memory. The universe is stranger than we imagined, but it is also more beautiful than we dared to believe. And through Webb's unblinking eye, we have only just begun to understand it. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Cosmic Curiosity, where we explore the universe through the eyes of those brave enough to venture into the unknown. The cosmos is vast, but every story matters. See you among the stars. In the wake of Webb's revelations, the universe no longer felt like a silent expanse of distant stars. It felt alive, with motion, with memory, with a structure so immense that every galaxy and every filament seemed to be part of a single cosmic organism. The deeper the telescope looked, the more this sense grew, expanding like the glow of a rising nebula. Now, Webb's discoveries began to reflect back on us, not as mysteries to fear, but as insights reshaping humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos. The realization started with the earliest galaxies. They shone too bright, too massive, too organized in the universe's infancy. Their maturity suggested a cosmos that learned quickly, evolving with a speed that defied every prediction. This rapid growth hinted at an environment more supportive of complexity than scientists had dared to imagine, a universe that favored structure, not chaos. Then there were the black holes. The cosmic titans that should have taken billions of years to grow appeared almost instantly. Their existence revealed that the early universe contained pressures, densities, and flows of energy far more intense than any modern galaxy could replicate. These black holes became the first architects of cosmic order, shaping clusters, carving out voids, guiding matter into the paths we see today. These early giants didn't just challenge cosmology. They rewrote its foundations. They proved that the universe was not born slowly. It surged into being. It raced toward complexity. It built its first structures with breathtaking urgency. As Webb drifted through the cosmic web, it found that this urgency was not confined to the early eras. Complex phenomena appeared everywhere. Rogue planets with metallic skies, galaxies frozen mid-growth, clusters sculpted by invisible violence, magnetic networks mapping the universe like circuitry. Each discovery strengthened the same idea. The cosmos was shaped by processes larger than galaxies, larger than clusters, larger than even the universe we observe. The pillars of space itself, the filaments, carried the clearest evidence. They weren't random, they weren't accidental. They stretched in patterns too intricate to be coincidence, guiding matter like cosmic highways. These filaments threaded across billions of light years, forming a skeleton upon which galaxies assembled. Even more astonishing were the magnetic fields woven through these filaments, fields that mirrored biological networks, suggesting that complexity is not confined to life. It is a property of the cosmos itself. The universe was not static or simple. It was structured at every scale. These patterns began to raise new questions, quiet, profound, and unsettling. Why does the universe organize itself this way? Why does matter fall into spirals, arcs, and loops across the largest scales? Why do galaxies tilt in similar directions across regions too vast to interact? Why does the cosmic microwave background carry a faint twist, aligned with cosmic structures billions of years later? The answers whispered through the data. Everything pointed in the same direction. Everything curved gently toward the same conclusion. The universe carried rotational memory, a memory strong enough to influence the flow of matter, a memory old enough to shape the cosmic web, a memory deep enough to fracture space-time into spirals and shears. This subtle swirl, detected in ancient radiation, repeated in galaxy orientations, embedded in magnetic filaments, suggested that the cosmos was not expanding in perfect symmetry. It was expanding with spin, and if the universe itself was rotating, then the familiar picture of the Big Bang began to dissolve. Instead of a uniform explosion, the origin began to resemble a rotational collapse, an event where space-time stretched not just outward, but inward along curved geometry. This realization cast new light on the Hubble tension, the contradictory expansion rates that baffled cosmologists for years. Instead of indicating measurement errors, the tension began to look like evidence of a deeper, asymmetric expansion. Space wasn't growing the same way in every direction. It was stretching along a rotational axis, pulled by forces older than light, shaped by a geometry inherited from its origin. Webb traced this asymmetry in gravitational lensing, in the behavior of dark matter flows, in the distribution of early galaxies. Everywhere, the universe revealed hints of an internal structure, one with boundaries, one with rotation, one with inherited motion. These hints didn't just reshape cosmology. They reframed humanity's understanding of existence. If the universe carried rotational memory, then it was not simply expanding. It was falling through curved spacetime. And if it was falling, then it might be contained inside something larger. This idea, once unthinkable, became unavoidable as Webb mapped deeper. The cosmic horizon behaved like a boundary. Expansion resembled infall. Lensing patterns matched interior gravitational wells. Filaments followed paths predicted by rotating curvature. Early black holes appeared as if they were remnants of a larger reality. Piece by piece, the universe revealed itself as something more intricate than a simple open space. It resembled a vast interior, a realm shaped by forces beyond its visible edge. Through these discoveries, humanity glimpsed the possibility that cosmic history is far larger than our universe alone, that perhaps every black hole forms its own interior realm, that perhaps creation is cyclical, nested, infinite. But even as Webb's data pointed toward a universe contained within larger structures, it also illuminated something just as profound: the beauty of existence within this vast architecture. The realization did not diminish humanity's significance, it amplified it. To exist inside a cosmic interior is to live within one of nature's greatest designs. To witness galaxies aligning with ancient rotation is to read the universe's memory. To see space-time bend into spirals is to glimpse the forces that shaped everything we know. To observe primordial structures still echoing through modern galaxies is to understand that creation is not random. It is patterned, powerful, and astonishing in scale. Webb's discoveries do not shrink the human story. They expand it, stretching our imagination to the scale of cosmic architecture. They reveal a universe alive with motion, structured, coordinated, and filled with mysteries that deepen with every photon captured. In this vastness, humanity stands not as an observer looking outward, but as a participant woven into the same fabric, bound by the same rotation, shaped by the same ancient forces, connected to the same cosmic memory that spans billions of years. The universe is stranger than we knew, but it is also more magnificent than we ever dared to dream. and its story is still unfolding. In the quiet that followed Webb's greatest revelations, the universe seemed to shift, not in shape, but in meaning. The telescope had carried us through the deepest structures of cosmic history, mapping filaments like arteries, voids like lungs, clusters like beating hearts of ancient light. Now, the final layers began to reveal themselves, layers not of objects, but of consequences. Because once the universe changed in our understanding, everything else changed with it. Webb's last surveys brought it into regions where the cosmic web thinned into darkness. Here, light stretched into faint ribbons, and galaxies drifted like embers cooling at the end of a vast fire. It was a place where time felt slower, where expansion deepened into a silence untouched by the crowded regions of galaxy clusters. In this emptiness, the universe revealed something unexpected. Even here, at the edge of structure, matter wasn't random. Even here, far from the gravitational pull of giants, alignments persisted. Even here, where galaxies floated alone, they angled in the same direction. The universe did not forget its spin. Webb measured the rotational tilt of isolated galaxies, galaxies that should have been shaped only by local forces. Yet their orientations pointed toward a distant axis, the same axis embedded in the cosmic microwave background, the same axis traced by the flow of dark matter, the same axis mirrored in the arrangement of magnetic filaments, a universal direction, a cosmic arrow, a memory too large for chance. As the telescope scanned deeper, it observed something even stranger. Radiation drifting through the void in subtle wave-like patterns. These waves had no identifiable source. They weren't remnants of stars or galaxies. They were fluctuations in space itself, vibrations traveling across tens of millions of light-years like whispers in a cathedral. Webb watched them pass through the void, distorting it gently, not enough to bend light. Not enough to form new structure, just enough to reveal motion, waves that pulsed in harmony with the universe's rotation. It was as if the cosmos was breathing, every filament, every cluster, every void, swaying in a rhythm billions of years long. These vibrations hinted at something astonishing. The universe behaved like a single, interconnected system. Disturbances in one region sent subtle echoes across large scales. The cosmic web wasn't static, it was responsive. The deeper Webb observed, the more these pulses became clear. Some were left behind by ancient collisions, their shock waves still spreading through space like ripples from a stone thrown into an ocean. Others emerged from gravitational shears, where space stretched too thin and snapped into new configurations. But some pulses, soft, delicate, perfectly aligned, had no identifiable cause. They seemed woven into the fabric of space-time itself, part of a much larger pattern. Webb drifted toward a region where such pulses converged, forming a faint spiral in the background radiation. This spiral was too large to belong to a galaxy, too structured to belong to a random fluctuation, too consistent to be an illusion. This spiral echoed the twist of the cosmic axis. It matched the rotational signatures seen in the earliest galaxies. It aligned with the asymmetric expansion detected in the Hubble tension. It mirrored the frame-dragging patterns near rotating black holes. Everywhere Webb looked, it saw reflections of the same force. Rotation. Faint, enormous, ancient, woven into the universe from the start. This wasn't simple motion. It was structure. It was architecture. With that realization came the next. If the universe was rotating, then space-time inside it behaved like the interior of a massive gravitational well. Expansion wasn't just stretching, it was curvature unfolding. Galaxies weren't just drifting apart, they were following the paths dictated by a rotating geometry. This geometry explained the strange alignments. It explained the twisted filaments. It explained the expansion contradictions. It explained the impossible black holes appearing early in cosmic history. It explained the fractures in space-time, shears, knots, folds that Webb kept detecting. All of them pointed toward a structure that was not centered on matter, but on space-time itself. The universe wasn't chaotic. It was constructed, its shape guided by forces older than light, deeper than gravity as we understand it. Webb then turned toward a region where the cosmic background faded into a haze of nearly uniform temperature. In this uniformity, it detected something faint, so faint that it had remained buried in noise for decades. A pattern so delicate that it required Webb's precision to see it clearly. A boundary. Not a physical wall, not a barrier of matter or energy, but a limit. Soft, curved, subtle, where spacetime's behavior changed. Inside this boundary, expansion unfolded at speeds we could measure. Outside it, if outside even meant anything, our physics no longer applied. Webb traced the curvature of this limit and realized that it behaved exactly like the inner surface of an event horizon, only at cosmic scale. Not absorbing matter, but absorbing perspective, preventing anything beyond it from influencing the space within. This wasn't a boundary that trapped matter. It trapped information. Webb had seen event horizons around black holes before. This was the same phenomenon, but stretched across the entire cosmos. The universe wasn't just rotating, it wasn't just expanding unevenly, it wasn't just structured like a network of filaments, nodes, and magnetic currents. It was enclosed, contained within a structure whose curvature shaped everything. A structure large enough to house all galaxies, all matter, all time. A structure that created expansion from the inside out. Webb paused in the deep quiet, its mirrors reflecting only starlight and the faint glow of cosmic background radiation. In that silence, the deepest implications settled across its final observations. The universe was not behaving like an object. It was behaving like an interior. Everything we see, every galaxy, every void, every filament, exists inside a larger geometry. A geometry that rotates, a geometry that stretches, a geometry that carries memory. What lies beyond that geometry remains unseen, unreachable, unimaginable. But the universe within is enough to remind us of one truth, extending far beyond science. We are part of something vast, something old, something shaped by forces that existed long before the first star. Something still unfolding through patterns larger than any human lifetime. In this cosmic interior, life is not an accident. It is part of the same unfolding, the same structure, the same rotation, the same story. A story written in the fabric of spacetime itself. In the aftermath of uncovering the universe's hidden boundary, Webb's mission began shifting from discovery to interpretation. It was no longer just cataloging galaxies or mapping radiation. Now, it was reading the universe like a text, a vast manuscript etched into space-time, waiting for the right instrument to reveal its meaning. And that meaning was becoming clearer, more undeniable, and more astonishing with every observation. Because once scientists understood that the universe behaved like an interior, the next question became impossible to avoid. What is shaping that interior? The answer emerged from Webb's deepest gravitational measurements. Subtle distortions in the path of ancient light. These distortions weren't caused by galaxies or dark matter or even black holes. They came from something more fundamental, the underlying geometry of spacetime shifting, swelling and flowing in patterns too vast for matter to influence. These shifts carried a signature, a gentle curvature that swept across billions of light years. And as Webb followed these curves, they all pointed toward a single phenomenon. The universe was experiencing external influence, not from outside forces entering our cosmos. Nothing could penetrate the boundary Webb detected, but from the geometry of space-time itself being shaped by something beyond it. The curvature wasn't chaotic, it wasn't random, it wasn't violent. It was ordered, subtle, steady, like the pull of a tide. This tidal effect was incredibly faint, detectable only through Webb's most precise lensing data, but it was consistent across every region of the sky. It acted on the cosmic web itself, guiding its filaments into familiar arcs, pulling galaxies into spirals that aligned on scales far too large for simple gravitational evolution. It was as if the cosmos was responding to a gravitational presence that lay beyond our horizon, a presence so large that our entire universe moved within its influence. This revelation was not framed as intrusion. It was interaction, gentle, gravitational, ancient. When scientists simulated these tidal patterns, one model fit perfectly. The internal motion of a rotating spacetime within a larger geometry. Webb's surveys confirmed it. The universe wasn't just rotating internally. It was being rotated by its position inside something greater. A structure so vast that even calling it large becomes meaningless. A structure whose gravitational imprint could span entire universes. A structure whose rotation shaped the formation of cosmic filaments long before galaxies emerged. This tidal influence explains so many of Webb's mysteries. The coordinated galaxy rotations across unimaginable distances. The asymmetric stretching that created the Hubble tension. The early appearance of supermassive black holes. The spiral pattern embedded in the cosmic background. The subtle pulses echoing through the void. The appearance of cosmic boundary curvature. Individually, these were anomalies. Together, they formed a single, unified pattern. And that pattern indicated one staggering truth. Our universe is not alone. It is part of a larger cosmological structure. A structure capable of shaping entire universes the way stars shape solar systems. Inside this realization, the concept of outside had to be reconsidered. Not as space, not as void, but as a higher order realm where universes exist not as isolated bubbles, but as components within larger gravitational frameworks. Webb's data revealed the possibility that universes might orbit, drift, cluster, or interact gravitationally within that higher dimensional environment, each with its own internal boundary, each with its own spacetime, each shaped by the curvature of a greater whole. Our universe, it seemed, was one of many. This understanding did not diminish its significance. It amplified it, transforming it from a solitary cosmic accident into part of a vast ecosystem of universes. But Webb wasn't finished. As it scanned the faintest regions of background radiation, it detected something even more extraordinary. Tiny variations in temperature too small to influence galactic formation, too subtle to be caused by matter, yet too structured to be noise. They formed a lattice, an interference pattern, a repeating geometry woven into the cosmic background itself. This pattern behaved like a resonance, the kind created when a system vibrates inside a larger container. It was the echo of a cosmic environment beyond our horizon, a signature of the space in which our universe existed. This resonance wasn't random. It matched mathematical predictions of universes embedded within larger rotating structures. Structures shaped by gravitational shears, rotational frames, and tidal gradients far beyond anything within our cosmos. The pattern suggested our universe oscillated subtly within its larger environment. These oscillations shaped early cosmic structure. Space-time itself vibrated at frequencies determined by forces beyond it. It was the faintest whisper of the larger cosmos, a whisper embedded in the first light ever emitted. From this, one conclusion emerged. Our universe carries not just memory of its own past, but memory of the environment in which it was born. This realization reframed everything. The unusual alignments across the cosmos weren't accidents. They were inherited, imprinted, passed through creation like birthmarks from a cosmic parent. Even the earliest black holes may have been remnants of the larger structure, seeds scattered into our universe during its formation. The more scientists traced these patterns, the clearer the picture became. Our universe was not a sealed, isolated bubble. It was a dynamic, rotating, resonating interior of something far grander than cosmology had ever imagined. And in this structure, humanity's perspective shifted dramatically. Instead of floating alone in an endless void, we were part of a layered cosmological hierarchy, connected through gravitational influence to something larger, something unimaginably vast. The fear many expected never came, because this realization did not diminish our universe. It gave it depth, context, identity. To be part of something immense is not to be small. It is to be included. In this new cosmic framework, life, any life, takes on profound meaning. We are part of the same unfolding that shapes galaxies and universes. We are expressions of the same structure that guides space-time itself. We are participants in a cosmos that resonates across levels far beyond our perception. James Webb showed us that the universe is not an isolated miracle. It is an interior hall of a grander creation, a vast architecture of space-time, memory, and gravitational motion. We are not outside observers. We are inhabitants. We are woven into it. We belong to it. And the deeper we look, the more the cosmos reveals that it is not just vast. It is connected, structured, alive with motion, alive with resonance, alive with meaning. The final picture came together slowly, across thousands of observations, across every wavelength Webb could reach, across distances so vast that even light struggled to cross them. Piece by piece, the universe revealed itself not as a silent expanse but as a structure shaped by forces operating on scales far beyond galaxies, beyond clusters, beyond anything in human imagination. And with this picture came a realization that changed everything. The universe is more than a place. It is a process. It is something that is happening. Each discovery Webb made, each anomaly, each impossible object, each deviation from the physics we knew was not chaos. It was signal. It was structure. It was order, emerging on scales too vast for early cosmologists to perceive. The synchronized galaxy rotations, the impossible expansion rates, the early black holes with no formation paths, the boundary curvature wrapped around the cosmos, the faint resonance humming through the cosmic background. The tidal distortions larger than any cluster, the gravitational patterns that seem to originate from beyond space-time. The ancient magnetism mapped across the cosmic web like a neural network. These weren't errors or outliers. They were the universe showing us its architecture. Not random, not accidental, but patterned. As Webb's maps grew more detailed, a new insight emerged. The cosmic web itself, the great interconnected skeleton of galaxies stretching across the universe, was not merely shaped by gravity collapsing matter into filaments. It was guided. The structure had symmetry. It had directionality. It had curvature that matched predictions of universes formed inside larger rotating geometries. Every filament bent along subtle arcs. Every cluster stretched along faint gradients. Every void curved where nothing should bend. Invisible forces shaped this network. Forces older than stars, older than galaxies, older than light. Forces that traced lines across space-time, like brushstrokes across a canvas. For years, astronomers believed dark matter created these filaments. But Webb showed something deeper. Dark matter was following these patterns, not creating them. The cosmic web wasn't just gravitational scaffolding. It was the visible imprint of a deeper structure, a structure originating from the environment in which our universe formed. This led to the final question, the one cosmology had avoided for decades. If our universe has structure, what shaped it? If it resonates, what set it vibrating? If it rotates, what spun it? If it expands unevenly, what pulled it? If it has a boundary, what lies beyond it? The data pointed to a single, overwhelming conclusion. Our universe is part of a larger system, a system with its own physics, its own geometry, its own gravitational landscape. Not a void, not a vacuum, not a simple higher dimension. A realm where universes form the way stars form in our sky, nested, rotating, drifting, bound to a larger whole. This was not metaphor. It was measurement. Webb detected the gravitational shear of that larger structure. It traced the tidal pull across billions of light years. It mapped the resonance patterns embedded in the cosmic background. It found curvature at the boundary of spacetime that no internal mass could cause. It showed coordinated motion across galaxies separated by distances too large for any known force. It revealed early objects formed faster than physics allowed, because their seeds were not formed here. The universe wasn't behaving like an isolated system. It was behaving like something inside a larger field. This realization did not diminish the cosmos. It elevated it. The universe became more than a container for stars. It became part of a grander architecture, a tiered reality, layered and interconnected, where space-time itself was just one of many structures sculpted by forces beyond its horizon. From this vantage, humanity's cosmic role changed. We were no longer inhabitants of an isolated bubble drifting through nothing. We were participants inside an infinite hierarchy of creation. Yet the most profound change wasn't scientific, it was philosophical. Because once the universe became a structure, a thing with shape, with boundaries, with resonance, the question of meaning transformed. Meaning was no longer a human invention, it was a property of the cosmos. Every galaxy web revealed, every filament stretching across billions of light years, every black hole humming at the edge of physics, every world with impossible atmospheres, every rogue object drifting alone through the darkness, every star being consumed in a violent burst of creation, every ancient signal etched into primordial light. All of it was part of an ongoing process, a cosmic unfolding that began long before Earth existed and will continue long after the last star in our galaxy fades. In this new understanding, humanity's perspective expanded. We became a way for the universe to observe itself from the inside, a momentary spark of awareness emerging from a structure larger than stars, larger than galaxies, larger than cosmic epochs. The terrifying discoveries, the contradictions, the anomalies, the impossibilities, were not warnings. They were revelations. They showed a universe far richer, far more dynamic, far more connected than any model had predicted. And perhaps the greatest revelation of all was this: the universe does not fear being understood, it invites it. Every photon Webb captured traveled billions of years just to reach its mirrors. Light from galaxies older than time as we once defined it. Light from stars that lived and died before the Milky Way formed. Light from the moment the universe first became transparent. Light that carries the memory of everything that has ever existed. Webb showed us that the cosmos is not silent, it is speaking. In gravity, in radiation, in structure, in resonance, in motion. And now, for the first time in human history, we have the tools to listen. We stand on the threshold of the universe's next great chapter, not because we conquered the unknown, but because the unknown finally revealed itself and welcomed us into a deeper, wider, more extraordinary reality than we ever imagined. The universe is not simply vast, it is layered, it is structured, it is alive with motion, it is connected to realms beyond our horizon, it is richer than our oldest myths, it is stranger than our boldest theories, and it is still unfolding. James Webb looked too deep into space, and instead of finding an end, it found the beginning of a larger story, a story we are only just learning to read.